François-Philippe Champagne is Canada's Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry. He joins us right now. Minister, thank you for being here. You are releasing today a voluntary code of conduct for the development of artificial intelligence, which I do want to talk about, but I think you'll understand when I say that I first want to ask you not only about the Speaker's resignation, but the apology that we heard from the Prime Minister today on behalf of Parliament for what happened on Friday. Did it take too long for the Prime Minister to apologize? Why was that not more forthcoming?
Well, I think first and foremost, this was a really sad day yesterday. I can tell you as a parliamentarian, a terrible mistake was made, which hurt Jewish communities in Canada and around the world, Ukrainian communities. I think the Speaker obviously was first to express apology, which is right, because, in our system, there's a lot of trust between parliamentarians and the Speaker. He's the ultimate authority in the House. When he asks someone to be recognized, it's his prerogative. So I think it was right for him to do that. He did the honorable thing to resign as well. I think in the sequence of things, that's how it should be, because you have to distinguish that between the government. I think what the Prime Minister said, and I've not seen because I was here today, but what I understand, expressing himself on behalf of parliamentarians is right. But in terms of the sequence, the Speaker assumed responsibility for what happened, expressed deep sorrow. This is a terrible mistake that should never have happened. And I think there'll be a lot of reflection as to say, what's the process for people to be recognized, for example, in the House of Commons. But I think in terms of steps, it was for the Speaker and the Speaker and all to speak on behalf of parliamentarians and assume responsibility for this terrible mistake.
And that's why the Prime Minister was not more forthcoming more quickly with this apology, that the Speaker needed to step down first?
Well, I think it's for the Speaker, because that was a guess of the Speaker. That I know for folks who are listening, these things, people may not know, for example, exactly the procedure of the House, but it's really the Speaker who invited the individual, who recognized him. And like I said, it was, in my view, the right thing for him to express the sorrow, very deep sorrow, on behalf of parliamentarians, and he realized that there was a breach of trust with colleagues, because he's elected by all parliamentarians. So when you talk about Parliament, it's the voice of Parliament, and I think it was right for him to do so, and he did it. And now, the Prime Minister, on behalf of parliamentarians of Parliament, I think is hopefully, people around the world would see the sorrow of all of us parliamentarians, and hopefully we can learn from that.
Okay. Well, listen, let's switch over now to this voluntary code of conduct on artificial intelligence. Again, you released it today. But, what's interesting about this, Minister, is that right now it's voluntary. Is that because the technology is developing faster than federal officials can comprehend its impact?
Well, no, I would say it's a step. We have Bill C-27 in the House that we introduced about a year ago. But we understand in the Minority Parliament, it's taking time, and we see the evolution of technology, which is going at light speed. So a bit like you've seen with President Biden at the White House inviting the tech giants in the United States, we said we need like a stopgap measure. We need an interim measure to restore trust so we can talk about innovation. We need from fear to opportunity. And for me, that's the basis of the code, is that we have a voluntary code of conduct, but obviously we're going to have a legal framework that will put Canada as a leader in the world when it comes to artificial intelligence. And that's why, for me, it was so key that we could have this interim step, which will be complementary, obviously, to the law. But before we have a legal framework, we needed to act to make sure that we protect Canadians. And I think it's going to give companies who subscribe to the code a competitive advantage, because there's issues around safety, transparency. I mean, today, you don't know if you're applying for a loan or if you're applying for an insurance policy, whether this is being decided by an algorithm or is that a human. Did we look at your postcode? Did we look at your gender? I mean, we need more transparency. We need people to know who they're dealing with. And and certainly have some, framework around that, and the Code of Conduct is doing exactly that.
Okay, so framework, voluntary at this point. Does that mean then that when you speak to the industry here in Canada, the tech industry in this country, that they are already buying into this Code of Conduct, or is this a bit of a pulling them towards these standards?
Well, they were part of it. We framed something, and you have some of the biggest companies in Canada. I can think about OpenText. I can think about Coveo. I can think about Cohere. You have some of the biggest names in Canada which have subscribed because they see a benefit. First of all, because they think that having a framework is going to allow for responsible innovation. So they see a benefit in that, and they see a benefit in instauring a relationship of trust with their customer, that they know that the systems are being used responsibly, and that will allow them to innovate faster. We want to foster innovation in this country. We've been a leader with France when it came to the global partnership on artificial intelligence. We want to continue to lead in the world, and for me, leading was making sure that we have a framework so that companies operating in Canada can refer to and give trust to their customer that they're acting responsibly, and then we'll have a legal framework hopefully as soon as we can.
Okay, as soon as we can, and again, that sets up this Artificial Intelligence and Data Act that you're talking about. So what can we expect out of that? Will that actually have more teeth to enforce the standards that you're trying to bring about with this voluntary code right now?
Well, certainly. I mean, the code is voluntary. The framework we're going to put, and I think we're going to be the first country in the world to have a legal framework. So clearly, the framework is going to be with tools. We'll have not only a privacy commissioner, we'll have an artificial intelligence and data commissioner. So that person will have powers to make sure that people respect what is going to be in the law, and the law is going to be based on principles that will be the foundation for regulation as the technology evolves. So on one end, the code is voluntary, but the framework, the legal framework, will allow obviously for sanctions if people were not to be following the regulatory framework we're going to be putting in place in Canada. But the whole thing is that this should spur innovation. This is about restoring trust so that we can go forward with innovation, because AI can do great things. You've seen in many industries. You should see the small and medium-sized businesses around here, technologies that will be helping companies to be more productive, more innovative. I mean, AI has the potential to really be a game changer in so many industries. So we want that to happen. But for that, we need to have a framework so that things evolve responsibly.
Minister, really appreciate the time today. Thank you for it.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.